Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to Everything Manufacturing, where we're going to get the latest scoop on all things manufacturing in partnership with NJBIA and NJMEP and our state legislators. First, I'd like to thank our partners for today, Association Member Trust, Citizens, Focus New Jersey, Manufacturing Counts, Minding Your Business, New Jersey Business Magazine, and Planet New Jersey. We're very excited today to partner with Senator Testa and Assemblyman McClellan on this manufacturing update, and we appreciate their leadership in the legislation on manufacturing issues. Senator Testa from Vineland is the co-chairman of the Bipartisan and Bicameral Legislative Manufacturing Caucus and has fought tirelessly for manufacturing all over our great state of New Jersey. He's also a member of the important Senate Judiciary and Senate Budget and Appropriations Committees, where he's consistently been a strong voice for businesses and taxpayers. Assemblyman McClellan from Ocean City has served on the Manufacturing Caucus and is on the Important Appropriations and Tourism Committees. Both Senator Testa and Assemblyman McClellan hail from the Legislative District 1 in Southeast Jersey, our Great Jersey Shore. Thank you very much. And they've been very strong protectors of our Great Jersey Shore. They both sponsored the Next New Jersey Manufacturing Program that creates a $500 million new tax credit for manufacturing. And now I'm going to turn it to the two of them to tell us more about that program. Again, gentlemen, thank you for your leadership, and the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you and good morning. For those that don't know me, I'm Senator Michael Testa. I am not Assemblyman Antoine McClellan, to be clear. I happen to love manufacturing. I've learned so much from folks like John Kennedy and Peter Connolly, and it's been great to partner with groups like the NJBIA, NJMEP, and Tim Sullivan at the EDA in the creation of this bill. This wasn't something that came about in a few months. It took a few years to get done. Here we are. It's something that I'm very proud of. It's slightly less than perfect, but we weren't going to allow the perfect to be the enemy of the very, very, very good in this instance. I'll allow my brother, Antoine McClellan, to introduce himself, and then we can get sort of into the meat and potatoes of what this bill is and why it came about.
Good morning, everybody. Michele, thank you very much for having us and the warm reception. And it's always a pleasure to be here with the NJBIA and also the NJMEP and to discuss something that's meant so much to Senator Testa, and he allowed me to join on his coattails with this idea that he's been working on for quite a number of years, and what manufacturing means not only to the state but to the real South Jersey, like we like to say. It is a big thing, and this is a big opportunity not just for South Jersey but for the state as a whole, and could be the nation. The way that the senator has put his blood, sweat, and tears into this legislation that we have forward.
Thank you so much, Antoine. For those that don't know, myself, Eric Simonson, and Antoine McClellan, we represent the 1st Legislative District, and we often refer to where we represent as the real South Jersey. So if you ever hear about that, we're still skeptical about the Central Jersey thing, but we know where the real South Jersey is for sure. And again, I can't thank Michele at NJBIA and Chris at NJBIA and Peter with NJMEP. You guys have been such amazing partners throughout this entire process and allowed me to be that voice and have allowed Assemblyman McClellan to be that voice in the Assembly chamber. So how did this come about? So this is a $500 million manufacturing tax credit. It's the largest singular piece of legislation done for manufacturing in the state of New Jersey history. I want to give a huge shout out to my good friend, John Kennedy. He was the one who really put the bug in my ear about how important manufacturing is and remains in the state of New Jersey. He passed the baton to Peter Connolly, who has been, running that race and shouting from the rooftops how important manufacturing is for the future of the state of New Jersey. You can't see it on my screen right now, but to my left, to your right, is a beautiful picture of the Trenton Bridge lit up in the NJMEP colors saying Trenton makes, the world takes. We really need to make that sign mean everything that it is supposed to mean. It is tremendous how many manufacturers we already have in the state of New Jersey, and certainly this bill will go a long way to allowing the existing manufacturers to not merely survive in the state of New Jersey, but to scale and to thrive in the state of New Jersey. And also, this is something I'm hopeful for, and it's something in line with President Trump's initiative to bring manufacturing back to the United States of America. Hopefully, manufacturers will want to repatriate to the United States. And if Antoine and I have anything to say about it, they'll be right here in the state of New Jersey. And look, I'm a lawyer by trade. I don't like to reinvent the wheel ever. And I have to tell you, I was so impressed with the County College of Morris's manufacturing wing that they have, that I tried to remodel that for South Jersey. And at the Cumberland County Technical School, we now have a $7.65 million grant that will be matched by the county, I always say freeholders still, I'm sorry, county commissioners in Cumberland County, to have a beautiful manufacturing wing that will mimic the County College of Morris's manufacturing wing right here in Cumberland County, in Vineland, on the campus of Cumberland County College and VCC Tech. I think this will go a long way to training our next generation of individuals for careers, not jobs, for careers in manufacturing. And through that partnership with our community colleges, they can gain what are known as stackable credentials, so that those students will no longer have 4 years of college debt. They will be earning a great salary, a livable wage, with great advancement opportunities while getting stackable credentials and credits at their local community colleges. So there's been some confusion. I want to address this head on as to what this $100 million in tax credits, which is the 20% that is reserved for what is known as clean manufacturing, clean energy product manufacturing. The bill is very clear. It says such as solar, geothermal, green hydrogen, nuclear energy, which I'm a big fan of, offshore wind, fuel cells, battery storage, or other clean energy manufacturing. Unfortunately, the mere mention of offshore wind, which quite frankly, I believe is dead in the water, no pun intended, certainly in the Trump administration. And if $1 billion wasn't able to save one singular project in Orsted, $100 million that's not even dedicated specifically to offshore wind is not going to resuscitate or revive an entire industry that, quite frankly, was destined to fail, in my humble opinion. So look, we have a manufacturer in southern New Jersey. I don't know if Antoine would agree with me that it's in the real South Jersey or not, but we have Holtec in Camden that makes small modular reactors, which is next generation nuclear. A company like Holtec would in fact qualify for that 20% that's reserved for clean energy manufacturing. As it stands today, there are no manufacturers of offshore wind components that could even qualify in the state of New Jersey for this 20% that is reserved. But let's talk about the other $400 million tax credits for manufacturing. We have to define what a manufacturer is, and it's a business engaged in the production or assembly of goods by transforming raw materials or subcomponents into components or finished products through various industrial processes, including but not limited to fabrication, assembly, or chemical processes. So that can mean a whole sundry of things. My understanding is that could even mean that individuals who are assembling components here for parts that are made overseas, that if they were sent over here fully assembled, would be subject to tariffs. So we could even discuss that a little bit, Michele. I know that's been a big concern for a lot of our businesses about tariffs. That's one of the ways that the tariffs may not apply. I won't say that they would not apply, but they may not apply, and I've been hearing that from a number of manufacturers. I don't want to take up too much of introductory time, but I will tell you that I think this bill will go a long way to making New Jersey competitive in the manufacturing sector. It'll go a long way to reviving our manufacturing sector, which is already really great here. But I will tell you, from all of the regulatory bodies that we have in the state of New Jersey, the corporate business tax that we have in the state of New Jersey, it has sort of stifled innovation and reinvestment into the manufacturers that we already have in existence in the state of New Jersey. I think that this will go a long way to encourage the manufacturers that are here to reinvest in their industries, have great workforce development, which is mandated in order for any of the companies to qualify for these tax credits, and really innovate in their manufacturing processes for their products. So that's all I really want to start off with. I want to turn it over to my brother, Antoine McClellan, the assemblyman from the great first legislative district.
Yes. The good thing about the senator, no, let me change that. The great thing about the senator is he knows how to get me really interested, involved in a lot of things, especially when he starts talking about careers for our young people in our underserved communities. And that's how he introduced this bill to me. And what a great opportunity that we would have to create careers for young people and those that are just fresh out of high school and those that are even in high school that want to get into manufacturing. And he put me on to manufacturing and how big it is. And I didn't really think that much about it until he started to educate me on the importance of manufacturing, specifically in the real South Jersey that we have here. So the importance here that we're going to be able to create careers and keep our brightest and our youngest people here with good, sustainable jobs, especially in underserved communities where you can come out of high school and start earning around $65,000, $75,000, as a start. That's career changing money and that's life changing money for a lot of our underserved communities without having a college education or having to worry about that, acquiring that debt to go to school. But you can pay your way through that and also get those certificates and things of that nature while you learn. So it's important that we understand that this creates jobs, not jobs, careers for a lot of people. And that's what we want to do. Make sure we create careers, not only bring manufacturing back, make manufacturing great again in New Jersey, but also make sure that we make people's lives great. And that's the most important thing that we have here is that we're able to take some of these downtrodden properties that exist in our communities and start to refurbish them and rehab them and bring manufacturing back and bring careers back. And I think the senator has done a great job with this. The fact that we're getting support by NJBIA and NJMEP is huge. And the fact that more people are going to start learning about this great $500 million tax credit that's going throughout the rest of the state and how it can flourish through the rest of the country is important. And the fact that we're going to be able to celebrate that, and the senator has done a great job at introducing the bill, getting the bill through committee, and getting the bill through and voted through the floor. Almost, pretty much unanimously in the Senate, and we had some stragglers in the Assembly, but a lot of people see the greatness in the bill. And I just like to thank you guys for promoting it, especially thanking the senator for allowing me to tag along with him on this. But let's celebrate the fact that we're creating careers for a lot of people in this state, and it's exciting.
If I may, the assemblyman is never a tag along. He's being overly humble on this one. He said a mouthful. Look, we represent some very underserved communities. I look at specifically Bridgeton and Vineland in our legislative district in Cumberland County. And granted, there are a number of other underserved communities throughout our state that I truly believe that Assemblyman McClellan can be that credible messenger to those schools, to educate a lot of people as to the careers in manufacturing, and that this is a lifeline for so many of communities. When you look at specifically, I grew up, born and raised in Vineland, New Jersey, Cumberland County. Two major manufacturers that existed. One in Millville was Wheaton Industries. It was the largest privately held corporation in the world. To give you an idea, they made every single bottle that Bacardi rum uses throughout the world. At one point in time in the 1980s, we also had Owens, Illinois and Bridgeton. They employed thousands upon thousands of people. And when those companies left, they left behind a huge, huge chasm that unfortunately those communities have not been able to survive. Now, I don't believe that we're going to be able to have two massive manufacturers like that, but maybe 10 smaller ones can replace them. That would be fantastic. And our young people, I believe, throughout the state of New Jersey, not just Legislative District 1, will be greatly served, and we will be able to keep our best and brightest, because unfortunately, we've been suffering from exporting our best and brightest out of the state of New Jersey after they turn 18.
Well, thank you very much, Senator. Thank you very much, Assemblyman. And thank you for, again, as Michele said very well, your leadership on this bill but on manufacturing overall. Wanted to turn it over. So if you have a question, raise your hand or throw it in the chat. But to get us started, wanted to ask you, I kind of see a nice compliment because, as you know, federal government just passed one big, beautiful bill. Several of us on this were just on a webinar that BIA had on that. That's been characterized by the National Association of Manufacturers as a manufacturing bill. And I think your tax credit could complement very, very nicely that if there's all this money now to make manufacturing more attractive in America, maybe your bill will help make sure that's happening in New Jersey. How would you want to respond to that?
Look, I think it's been really serendipitous that the big, beautiful bill is characterized as a manufacturing bill. And look, there's been critics on both sides of that bill. Again, I'm a Reagan Republican. I don't ever allow the perfect to be the enemy of the good. And in that case, it's very, very good. Just like this bill is, in my opinion, is great for the state of New Jersey. I see this working as a hand in glove process with this bill that myself and Assemblyman McClellan have worked tirelessly on, and I have to give credit across the aisle. I want to be completely bipartisan, just like our caucus truly is. Senator Greenstein and Assembly Leader Greenwald worked very hard on this. I mean, this was something that was truly a partnership, and something that I truly believe that most New Jerseyans, and I would say it's probably 80%, if not more, want to see us working together to bring great legislation to help all 9+ million citizens of the state of New Jersey to create a better version of the Garden State. So I really want to work with the federal administration and hand in glove process with this program to make manufacturing great again in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you for that. Don't see anything new popping up, but one thing I've also heard, we just got through the budget process. BIA is certainly has been a critic of us spending too much and taxing too much. And somebody says, oh, we're just throwing money at the problem. The nice thing about this bill is there's no new cost to this because it's coming out of existing tax credit programs. So can you talk a little bit about just the fiscal efficiency with this program and how we're not spending any new money, but getting a lot of bang for our buck?
Well, sure. I mean, for every dollar that's invested in manufacturing, it's been told to me by the industry experts that you get $3 out of every dollar that's invested. And if you look at our budget, we've all, on my side of the aisle, have pretty much have been strong critics for the past number of years that we need to tighten the belt in the state of New Jersey, that we don't have a revenue problem, that we have a spending problem. Here we have a tax credit issue that's not costing the hardworking taxpayers of the state of New Jersey a single penny. It's actually just encouraging companies to move to the state of New Jersey. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, because look, and this is across administrations. I want to be really clear about this, Chris. You and I have had personal conversations about this. So I've had them with Michele, Peter. In my hometown of Vineland, we had Progresso that was here for so many years that they walked away from a $40 million capital improvement 2 years after they made that capital improvement. We've lost Nabisco. We lost Mercedes-Benz USA. There's a lot of businesses that have fled the state of New Jersey. We need to start attracting businesses to the state of New Jersey. And we also have to treat the businesses that are here really well and thank them for being here. But the problem is that they have not been able to really reinvest in those businesses because of the regulatory scheme, because of the corporate business tax scheme that we have in the state of New Jersey. What we need to do is encourage them to be able to innovate and to scale, because I still think we have some of the best and brightest minds right here in the state of New Jersey, and we're manufacturing great widgets throughout the state. I mean, Peter has taken a tour of some of those companies with me. It's remarkable what is already made right here in the state of New Jersey. But, unfortunately, a lot of the manufacturing companies are sort of buried in those industrial parks that are off of our highways. Nobody really knows what is made here. And I think we need to do a better job of highlighting what is already here and allowing them to thrive, not just survive.
Thank you for that. I was about to get to Cassandra's question in the chat, but even better is she raised her hand. So Cassandra, you have a question?
Hi, yeah. Thanks, everybody. So we're an electronics manufacturer down in Cape May County, and kind of to your point, no one knows we exist, and we've been here since 1975. So my question is kind of how can we get some of these tax credits? Like, what are the next steps to actually make this useful for us? Because a lot of times there may be programs, but being down here in Cape May County with all the tourism, nobody seems to care that we exist and how to support us from the state level. So I just kind of want to understand what to do moving forward.
So Cassandra, great questions. First and foremost, thank you for being here and thank you for attending this, and thank your employer company for existing in the real South Jersey, and you're absolutely right. South Jersey comes with a sundry of issues like logistics and things of that nature that we get forgotten about many times. That's something that we've been shouting from the rooftop since we got elected in 2019. There are contained in the bill, and I don't, want to get too into the nitty gritty of the bill as far as what the requirements are, but there are some very basic requirements. And, once the governor signs it, look, we're sort of waiting with bated breath for the governor to sign this bill. My understanding is he wants to make a pretty big deal about when he signs this bill and where it's going to be. And I know that Antoine, myself, Senator Greenstein, and Assemblyman Greenwald will be there for that signing because of how proud we are of this. But, my understanding is it has to create a minimum of, this is off the top of my head, I believe there has to be 20 new jobs that are created in order to qualify for the tax credit. And if you're going to be scaling, there has to be a site plan for location, committed financing, enter a project agreement with the EDA. Those are the basics that I recall.
Okay.
That there's some really basic requirements that are contained in the bill. So this way it was covered all four corners. We wanted it to be very clear and unambiguous as to how this program could roll out.
Okay. Thank you. I'll take a look at it closer.
Yeah, I'll throw the link to the actual bill language. And again, this bill language, this is what's passed the legislature and is sitting on the governor's desk. We've heard the same thing the senator tested, that they want a public signing, which is good news that the governor wants to highlight this, and maybe that helps more people use it. The one point, and Senator Tester raised this is not perfect. If he was writing the bill, or someone McClellan was writing the bill, or Michele, Pete, and I are writing the bill, might be differences. It's the 20 new jobs. It's a $10 million investment. It's for new things, whether people expanding or coming new to New Jersey. We know that current manufacturers here are facing a lot of challenges. It's hard to do business in New Jersey. Manufacturers around the country are facing challenges. So there's more that we can do. And I know there's more that Senator Testa and Senator McClellan want to do to help existing manufacturers. So hopefully existing manufacturers can see that this can help if they want to expand. But there's definitely things that we have in mind. And I think some things that even Michele and Pete are going to talk about later today about helping those existing manufacturers. And BIA is always a resource, and MEP is always a resource. So I would throw my information in the chat. I'm sure the MEP information will get thrown into the chat, and use this as a resource for anything we can help with.
Great.
I appreciate that, because it is hard for small businesses like ourselves that, we're trying to continue as is. We can't really make those large investments quite yet. We'd love to get there, but it's more, I'd love to see the state actually try to help us get to those points rather than just looking to attract the big companies in and bigger people. I think we're getting lost in the weeds, and I'd love to see more movement there and help with that movement if possible.
So Cassandra,
you have our commitment that we're going to do everything that we possibly can. I do want to ask you, have you been involved with NJMEP at all in the past?
A little bit, not a lot that they have really helps us either. Again, you have to hit some minimums for investment. We did a lot of investment in new equipment before we knew NJMEP existed. They didn't really reach down this way for a long time. So like I said, we've been kind of I've been getting more connected, but we've been a forgotten Cape May County entity for a long time. That we just have been doing our best since 1975. We're still here. We continue to be here, but it would be nice to see more incentives for small businesses like ourselves.
Well, Cassandra, this is Peter Connolly from MEP. So we'll reach out to you. What is the name of your company?
Thomas Instrumentation Incorporated.
Okay. We'll be in touch. And if we haven't been, that's our fault. But we do have a focus on South Jersey. And I'll reiterate what Chris said. Whatever help you need, there are resources out there, whether it's us, NJBIA, BIA, there's multitude, and we'll get you hooked up. There are multiple programs out there that we can help assist you with equipment purchases, lean manufacturing, many other supply chain, the senator couldn't.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have the past couple of years connected with you guys, and not much is really.
Okay, I will make sure we change that.
Yeah, Cassandra, I can tell you that I've taken a tour of a number of the facilities that have reached out to either my office and or NJMEP. We've toured facilities with Assemblyman Simonson and McClellan. throughout our legislative district, including Cape May County, one of them being cellular technologies. I mean, so all of our businesses are extremely important to us. I want to be very clear about that.
I appreciate.
No, thank you for speaking up. We appreciate that. And we're better advocates and resources for you when we hear from people like you. So thank you. Eric in the chat asked, are there any credits for wholesale bakery producers? And again, credits are generic to the 400 million you talked about, Senator. So it would be if it's large enough to hit some of those metrics and requirements that you mentioned. So, but again, Eric, please reach out if we can be a further service, because this is intended to help all manufacturers. So in the important food industry, agriculture, electronics, as Cassandra brought up, nuclear, as the Senator brought up earlier, you name it, we want to make sure they're benefiting from this and benefiting from the programs we have that MEP and BIA can help navigate as well.
And I apologize for joining late. I had a little technical snafu. I am Erica Briderman. I am the Director of Manufacturing Partnerships for the NJEDA. We offer a number of different grants and loan products and stuff that are aimed at a couple different segments. So some of them are aimed at some small businesses and some of them are aimed at larger businesses. And my role is to be the person that you can reach out to. So I work with a gentleman named Doyen Ashiru. He has some food manufacturing background, so I let him use that experience in working with some of our food companies, but you're welcome to reach out to me and I will put my contact information in the chat. And I am happy to come to South Jersey, as a number of the folks who I have worked with will attest. So I'm look forward to learning more about your company, and hopefully we can find some support programs that might be able to help you out in addition to the services that are being offered through our other partner organizations. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Erica, for chiming in. And NJEDA is a fantastic resource. Obviously, as Senator Testa mentioned, working with him on this bill, and we appreciate all of the good work you guys are doing to help businesses around the state, especially in manufacturing.
But Christopher, one of the things that I think Cassandra has highlighted, there are a number of programs that are out there, but if the manufacturers aren't necessarily 100% aware of them, they're sort of in a vacuum somewhere, and people aren't being told about them. And whatever Assemblyman McClellan and myself can do to make sure that the manufacturers, and particularly in our neck of the woods, are aware of those programs, please let us know, because the last thing we want to do is find out that maybe a company purchased, made a large capital investment in new equipment for a manufacturing line, and then they find out later on that they could have saved a certain number of money, because there was grants available that they just were not aware of. So if there's anything that we can do, please let us know to be better ambassadors.
Definitely really appreciate it. Really appreciate that you guys care about the manufacturing industry, because it's been a long time since I've heard anybody really talk about us.
No, it's a priority, obviously priority for MEP and BIA here, and priority for these legislators that are fantastic in joining us today. And I mean, NJBIA over 115 years ago started out as New Jersey Manufacturers Association and became BIA as we grew and diversified. But our heart is still with manufacturing, and I'll let Michele kind of even give her manufacturing bona fides a little bit. But yeah, we're happy to help. And Cassandra, if there's more that we can do to focus on manufacturer, we're all ears, and we want to do more. We can best we can do to support you. With that, I wanted to see if there's any more questions before turning over to Pete Connolly. And obviously, this is still as it's been. And thank you very much. We had Joan from the state SET, State Employment Training Commission, give a link on workforce development. Senator Testa mentioned workforce development resources, and the work he's doing with South Jersey Community Colleges has been fantastic, and community college has been leading the way. I'm going to throw in some of the county college resources, some of the links there. They've been focusing on manufacturing in their Pathways program. And there's the Manufacturing Skills Initiative that we're doing to try to get more people, MEP and BIA, working with the county colleges. So I will throw that in while Pete is talking. But a segue to Pete is NJMEP the resource. BIA tries to be the advocate, but they are the resource. They know manufacturing better than anybody. Pete especially so, and his staff are fantastic to work with. And we were faced with a little bit of a concern when we saw MEP funding in doubt from both federal and state-wise. And we have Pete here to give an update on that. But one of the things about South Jersey, we're talking about South Jersey, is I know that some of the past state funding helped Pete expand in South Jersey. And we want to make sure that doesn't go away and that's not in jeopardy. So turn it over to Pete Connolly from the Manufacturing Extension Program to give an update about what's going on there. And I will throw some links in as we continue to talk.
South Jersey is never going away. We will always support South Jersey. Correct, Senator?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So just to give and Cassandra, we will be in touch. And it hurts me when I hear people say that we're not supporting as well as we should. So we'll make sure my team takes that to heart. So just as a NJMEP, we're a not-for-profit training consulting firm that supports 10,000 small, medium manufacturers in New Jersey. Most importantly, how do we make them profitable, more profitable? And as the senators say, how do we keep them in New Jersey? And that's the most important thing. And you know, there are organizations out there like Choose New Jersey and other organizations and EDA of how do we get other companies coming here? And that's something that we need to look at. I think Michele will talk about that. You know, our corporate transit tax, our corporate business tax makes sometimes a little difficult to work in New Jersey. Things that we do, lean manufacturing, supply chain support, workforce development is probably one of the bigger things that we're doing, both with companies, county colleges, high schools, and what we want to do is middle schools. And we do that through programs that we train veterans, and then we have a program at the EDA, thank you, Erica, that is a makers and creators where we're going to one high school in every county and mostly underserved high schools to teach them, as the senator said, there's a career in manufacturing, not just a job. And what we do is we bring in, we have a tricked out RV, thank you, Melanie Willoughby, that has CNC machines, virtual welding machines, 3D printers, cobots, and we teach students and parents and teachers about a career in New Jersey. And how we do that is through partnerships. And we have great partnerships in New Jersey, NJBIA, Chamber of Commerce South Jersey, the African American Chamber, Statewide Hispanic, SBDC, SBA, which is on the call, and Junior Achievement. So as Chris said, why both state and federally, we talked that hey, we want to bring manufacturing back, and we want to increase manufacturing both state and federal levels. Funding for all those programs has been cut. As I said, I think the senator and Senator Zwicker, no, I don't mind a budget haircut. I just don't want to go bald. And they said, hey, did you look in the mirror lately? So, so how we get our funding is project fees that we work with the 10,000 companies with those potential programs. We do get matching funds from the Department of Commerce up to a certain amount. We do get fundings from other sources such as EDA and most importantly, the Business Action Center. And what the Business Action Center, our state funding, really supports our workforce development programs in high schools, middle schools, and with companies. So listen, I know as the Senator talked about, it's a tough budget year. Even though there were cuts to many programs, I understand that. We got probably cut in half. I'm grateful for the money that we get from the state and how it supports us. But many other programs were cut, whether it's the SBDC, whether it's Junior Achievement that helps middle school students, whether it was the YW and YMCA programs. Those are things that really matter and make a difference. And then you look at, and don't know if I see the senator still on, but you know, we just gave $1 million to a soccer team to play in Paterson, New Jersey. What's our benefit of that? What's going to be our return on investment? So we will take that budget cut and we're not going to cut programs, but it's going to make us more difficult to look at that. And it will affect the partnerships that we do work. On the federal level, the president has said, hey, we want to bring onshoring, we want to bring programs back, and then he cut the program for the MEP program. Luckily, as of today, the House Appropriations Committee passed their budget, which will go to the full House, that reinstates 175 million to the NIST MEP program. The Senate Appropriations Committee has the same exact language, but their appropriations hasn't passed yet due to infighting along the lines for the Department of Justice moving their facility. But we do expect that to go through. So NJMEP will stay here, we'll be here, and our goal is to assist every and all manufacturers in New Jersey. And trust me, Cassandra, you'll be getting a call soon and we'll come down and visit. We do many plant visits. And so I know Assemblyman McClellan is down there. We'll get him a plant tour and come see your facility.
That'd be great. Anytime.
You got it. So any questions for me? And I'll turn it back to Chris. Can't hear you,
Yes,
Chris.
you're on mute, Chris.
There you go. Don't we love technology?
Sorry
We'd
about
all
that.
we'd all think after 5 years, it happens every single meeting, and it's usually me that does that, by the way. I want to be
Nope.
clear about that, but you'd think after 5 years we would figure this out, but
We can put a man on the moon, but we just can't get ourselves off mute.
no, you can't.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. The dog was barking, so I tried to mute and then I forgot that I was on mute. But thank you very much, Pete, for your partnership and leadership on all things manufacturing. And I want to turn it over to Michele Siekerka. I mentioned her leadership on manufacturing, which she's going to get into, and talk about some of the resources that she is seeing and part of on the national level to help manufacturers with things we're talking about, and obviously the tariff issue that all of us are very aware of as well.
Sure. Thanks so much, Chris. So it really is my pleasure, not just my privilege to lead NJBIA, but in that role, I currently serve as the chair of the Conference of State Manufacturing Associations. NJBIA is the state arm of the National Association of Manufacturers. And so through that, I serve on the board of the National Association of Manufacturers. And as I said, I chair the conference, and the conference is basically the Michele Siekerka of the other 50 states. We actually have our conference next week, annual conference, where we talk about issues impacting. And certainly it has been a dynamic time. I said earlier today, I think many of us feel as though we're drinking from the fire hose right now. An organization like NJBIA, traditionally 90 to 95% of our advocacy on any given day is on state issues. We have spent and expended much energy and a lot of time on federal issues affecting our state businesses, and in particular our manufacturers over the last 6 months. So I want to give a brief update on a few things, particularly where we are with tariffs and the advocacy on your behalf that's taking place right now in DC relative to tariffs. So first of all, I think we all know that we're on a pause for reciprocal tariffs over 10% only until August 1, and that's yet again a date knocking on our door. But yet again this week, we know President Trump signed a whole bunch more letters to a whole bunch of other countries saying, you know, here's how we want to play, come to the table, let's get it done. We see this new challenge going on with Brazil that effectively affects some of our critical minerals that we may get from there, et cetera. But I want to talk about what some of this advocacy is and what we can expect to see. So first of all, at the federal level, NAM is advocating, and I'll call it there's a three-legged stool going on here. First of all, the ultimate goal is 0 for 0 tax deals with our trade partners. Right? In the end, economically, that's what's going to make sense. Those that we've had solid relationships with, 0 for 0 is the best for our manufacturers. But, you know, because that potentially could take a really long time to get to and maybe fallacy and a little bit of rose-colored glasses, what do we need to do in the meantime? And most important, what we need to do is we need to avoid tariffs on specific manufacturing inputs needed for our U.S. manufacturers and New Jersey manufacturers that you can't get from here in America, right? If we operated at 100% in New Jersey, if we operated at 100% capacity for what we have in America to bring back as inputs here to New Jersey, we would still come up short over 10% of critical input, right? More like 20% critical input. So it's just, we just don't have those things here in America. We need to get them from other places. And I can tell you that half of the US imports, all inputs, half of them are manufacturing inputs. And again, those things are the minerals, the chemicals, the manufacturing machinery that you need in order to run your business, and the impact that has. And the domestic supply, we just have a shortfall here in America for that. So NAM is advocating in that space because, look, we can't go in and ask for exemptions and waivers. Those are like dirty words, right? We need a bigger comprehensive policy. So NAM is advocating under a program that they call the Investment Accelerator Program. And in a minute, I'll tell you where all these resources are. Basically, what this is this will provide a license that will act as a speed pass, allowing inputs of critical inputs that you need minus tariff cost. So that's one way to get it on the front end. And I'll tell you that this is being met with recognition for the need to do this. Okay. However, because getting it on the front end could be challenging, what they are also saying is let's provide rebates on the back end. So if you have to pay it up front, we'll have a process that we can set up so that you can seek that rebate later. This is how right now the advocacy is going in order to offset the fact that tariffs will affect you and increase your cost of business depending upon where you're sourcing from. I could tell you that when we talk about the effective rate and cost of tariffs in New Jersey, the estimated effective rate on whole for our industry is approximately 11%. I will tell you nationally that effective rate ranges from 6% to 20%. And we're sitting at an effective rate of an estimate of 11%. 11% is a big deal for New Jersey manufacturers. So we are, hot and heavy advocating on this, again, getting well reception and an understanding that even at full capacity across the entire country, we couldn't possibly source the things we need. The idea is if we're going to ask all of you manufacturers to invest and reinvest here in America in order to build the capacity so we don't have to get it from overseas, you need relief and a lifeline in order to have the ability to grow that capacity here. So we want to ensure that any investment you make, you get credit back for. So it's the companies making investment that we're seeking to get that credit back for. And that goes to some of the issues before. We have to focus on the companies that are already here and make them stronger. That is critically important, and we will continue to do that. So I mentioned resources, NAM.org, NAM.org. There is an interactive tariff map. That's where you'll see that effective tax rate for New Jersey of 11% and a couple other tidbits there. It also talks about some other issues concerning tariffs specifically for New Jersey. If you click on the state of New Jersey, it'll pop that up and give you some more detail. But you may be home-based in New Jersey and you may have facilities elsewhere and being affected. So that map can tell you what your effective rate could be in other states as well. And then all these policy discussions that I mentioned before and the policy papers around this, again, is at NAM.org. And the last thing I'll say to all of you is we need to tell your stories. And so particularly here in New Jersey, where we support critical components and parts to defense and aerospace industry and all the other wonderful manufacturing you do, right? We are trying to take these stories and bring them together. And NAM is telling those stories on the Hill on our behalf. So feel free if you want to be forward facing. Media is always asking us, we want to hear the story. What's the impact going to be on a New Jersey business? And we understand why many businesses don't want to be forward facing. And that's why we exist to tell your story. So your story could either be with or without attribution, but we want to tell it. So reach out to us and we can schedule some time to learn more about your story. Thank you, Chris, for putting the link up in the chat, and I'll be available for any questions that anyone may have. Thanks, Chris. Back to you.
Thank you, Michele. Any questions for Michele or Pete before I jump into just a couple other brief updates that we want to provide on manufacturing? Okay, so first, I do want to turn very quickly. Workforce development has come up a couple times. I threw the link in for the Pathways program that I referenced, but also the Manufacturing Skills Initiative with which MEP and BIA partner with the county colleges on program funded by the Department of Labor. Althea Ford is BIA's workforce development lead and been working on the Manufacturing Skills Initiative with MEP and the county colleges. Wanted to give her a chance to briefly talk about her programs, and then I'll turn it over to a couple just other budget updates and tax updates that manufacturers may care about. Althea?
Good morning. Thanks, Chris, and good morning, everyone. So as Chris noted, there are a couple programs in the workforce development space that touch upon the manufacturing industry. The most recent being the Manufacturing Skills Initiative. This was a partnership with the Department of Labor, NJBIA, and NJMEP to really identify and be strategic around investments to ensure that individuals that are interested in getting into the manufacturing industry have access to training in real time, and that employers have access to those recently credentialed individuals in real time. So the program ran for about 2 years, wrapped up earlier this, actually in June. And so we have a list of individuals that have completed credentials in everything from welding to manufacturing boot camp and general manufacturing credentials, OSHA, as well as some specialized like hazardous material and other industry specific credentials. And so if there are any manufacturers on the line that are looking for individuals that have certain credentials, I'd love to stay connected to you. We have resumes in hand, and these are individuals that have completed training all across the state. And so again, if there are opportunities to connect you with, directly connect you with individuals that have completed credentials in the areas that you need access to in your businesses, please, I'll put my email in the chat, and we can definitely link up. Additionally, the New Jersey Council of Community Colleges continues to support the manufacturing industry through its career pathways program. And in this space, it's twofold, right? So one is ensuring that industry is participating in a meaningful way in informing the county colleges of what the curriculum has to entail so that those individuals can be employable upon graduation, right? And upon completing their credential. One of the things we note in the workforce development space is that it's great to have training. It's great to have, individuals or businesses that need employees. But if those individuals that are getting credentials are not speaking and obtaining the skill set necessary for direct employment, it's a waste of resources. And so what the Career Pathways program allows for is for, in this instance, manufacturers to be directly involved in everything from curriculum building and informing the educational institution in real time of what are the soft and hard skills that industry demands so that those individuals can be employable upon day one. And so again, if there are any manufacturers on the line that want to be a part of that, like that ground level discussions with the schools to ensure that they're training to the right credentials and training to the right experiences, I'm more than happy to make those introductions, as well as just allowing for you to be a sounding board for the county colleges. So as they are devising and developing and revising their program, it's based off of input directly coming from industry. So I'll include my information in the chat for you.
Thank you very much, Althea. And as Althea was talking, knowing that workforce development is such a big priority for manufacturers, I threw in a chat. Focus New Jersey is NJBIA's nonprofit research affiliate, and they also spend a lot of time focusing on workforce development, workforce trends. They created a workforce development map, which I think is a huge resource that doesn't get attention it deserves. And so I threw it into the chat for anybody that's looking to learn about more training, education, workforce opportunities. That Focus New Jersey is doing a great map of where you can access everything in the state. So threw that into the chat. So thank you, Althea. I do want to just throw in a few updates that manufacturers may be concerned with, or for good and bad. So just
Chris,
yes.
can I just chime in? Alan Zakin,
Oh, go ahead, Alan.
Pete Connolly at with NJMEP, and just on top of what that was probably after Althea talking about workforce development. Pete mentioned that MEP was proud to get funded, but it was cut, and we're hoping to get a little bit more back in terms of from some of the agencies for workforce development training, because there's over 30,000 unskilled job openings or skilled job openings out there, and MEP provides that kind of training, working well with the state. And there's one other issue that's tangentially, but importantly related to manufacturing in terms of energy and our energy grid. And we talk to a lot of manufacturers that want to expand, want to hire, but they are told they don't have enough power in the grid to fund any expansion that they do. And while energy, and there's real no focus on the master plan right now in the administration. There's some piecemeal solar or wind, but we really need a comprehensive solar, wind, and gas in the short term to expand our grid, and nuclear in the long term. So we are trying to work with federal and state legislators more to try to get training now for those jobs we need to have to build out our grid, and also to train people for nuclear in Salem with the SMRs as those come on. So I just want to make people aware of that that's something we're looking to do, to bring that training now for that type of expansion of the grid we need to stay competitive with our neighbors. We saw that President Trump just did a press conference in Pennsylvania to expand the PJM, $25 to $90 billion. And they talked about it going to every state in the PJM, including New Jersey, but the only real money there is Pennsylvania. And I think people need more confidence in our energy and the business policy before they would invest here in New Jersey. So just wanted to state that for the record. And thanks for working so closely with MEP. BIA has been a great partner.
No, thank you, Alan. Thank you for the great work you do on behalf of manufacturing and working with MEP. We're always happy to partner with you. So on the state budget that just became law, passed on June 30th, signed right around midnight on June 30th. As we've talked about, there is some positives where there is a partial restoration. The real positive would have been a full restoration, but a partial restoration, as Pete talked about, of the MEP line item in the budget. I think it was mentioned the Small Business Development Center is another great resource. There was a partial restoration of $300,000 to them. But one of the major manufacturing line items in the budget was $10 million for the very successful manufacturing voucher program. That was proposed to be zeroed out by the governor, and that has maintained its zeroed out status. One of the big losses in the budget, and was very disappointing to see. So that'll be something. We are hopeful that both governors, both candidates running for governor, are going to be much more pro-manufacturing than we've seen from recent governors in the past. And I think that optimism, BIA, MEP have relationships with them, with both Congresswoman Sherrill and former Assemblyman Chattarelli. And I am confident that we'll be looking to try to either restore MEP, restore a manufacturing voucher program, other business resources, because I think you have two pro-business folks running for governor. I also wanted the Commission for Science, Innovation, Technology, which is obviously manufacturers are at the forefront of innovation. They were cut a little bit, but there was some restoration in the final budget. On that innovation point, wanted to make sure you knew there's two new programs actually were already signed. BIA kind of talked about a trio of pro manufacturing innovation programs. They're both smaller than the $500 million tax credit, but there is a new bill, a qualified small business stock bill, and an angel investor expansion bill. Both bills basically would encourage more investments in startups and R&D in the state. The qualified small business stock bill, QSBS, we were an outlier in how we taxed startup investments. This brings us into line with 45 other states and the federal government and how they tax these startup investments. And angel investors, we just expand the program further. It's been successful and will continue to grow. So it's a good thing for innovation and manufacturing in New Jersey. Last point I wanted to raise was just on the taxes. Obviously, we don't want any new taxes in New Jersey. We have enough taxes already, but a couple items that I think are interesting in manufacturing. One that didn't happen, there was a proposal for a $300 million increase in sales taxes by expanding our sales tax base, including new items, some of which would have impacted some of the things that are made in New Jersey. And fortunately, that sales tax expansion did not make the budget. That also included things like the fun tax that got some attention, where taxing participatory sports like mini golf and bowling and laser tag and all those things not in the budget, not taxing used car trade-ins, not taxing comps in Atlantic City, digital services, which would have been a really bad one. All of that is not in the budget. So that was a good win. That was one of the things we pushed back hard. Another one, which any manufacturer looking to sell their facility If they have commercial offices in the state, it might trigger this, but the realty transfer fee increase did make it in the budget. It's almost a $300 million increase in real estate transactions, the fees that are assessed at those. So on the seller now, if there is a property sold in New Jersey over $2 million, there's now a schedule, graduated schedule, that goes from a doubling of the real estate taxes from 1% to 2% to a 350% increase from 1% to 3.5%, topping out at anything over $3.5 million. So if you're looking to sell a $4 million property that's connected to your manufacturing facility or any business you're doing, that's now going to be considerably more expensive in the state of New Jersey, and that tax is on the seller. That was also a change that happened. So I think that's probably one of the more anti-business things that happened in this past state budget, but I thought it was important to make sure you guys knew. But state budget continues to tax too much and spend too much, but it did get moderated and improved in terms of its business treatment from how it was proposed back in February to what got signed. And a lot of that's because of the good, important work that MEP did, BIA did, and Senators Testa and Senator McClellan for speaking up on taxpayers and businesses. So thank you very much for that work. With that, we just got a couple minutes. If anybody has any last minute questions, be happy to take them and turn it over to Pete or Michele or anybody if those questions are geared for somebody else. And thank you very much for throwing information into the chat for everybody that's done that. As I said throughout, there are links that I threw into the chat that might be helpful to you. But again, bottom line is MEP and BIA through our Manufacturing Counts partnership wants to continue to be a supporter, a resource, a leader, an advocate for all of you that are making things. And our economy only goes if we make things. And so thank you for making things. Thank you for what you do. And hopefully these resources are helpful, but we'll be continue to help you if we can do anything else beyond what we talked about today. So any questions?
Nope. So I'll close out
Chris?
before I turn over to Michele. Chris, great job as always, and want to thank Senator Testa and McClellan for your support, not just for LD1, but for the state for manufacturing and this tax bill. So thank you for your support.
Yeah, I just want to echo that, and I also want to thank our great partner NP Connolly and NJMEP. We really are an uber partnership in how we approach and support manufacturing here in the great state of New Jersey. And I did put in the chat, but if we do have a Manufacturing Counts Council, and basically we try to roundtable with our manufacturers as issues come up. If you're interested in being a part of that, please reach out. I put my email in the chat and we'll get you on the distribution list for that. But I see we're right at time. And so I want to thank everybody for being here today. And again, a special shout out thanks to our legislative representatives who continue to carry the torch for manufacturing here in the state of New Jersey, and to our job creators and makers who joined us today. Thank you for all that you do for our communities across our great state of New Jersey. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Fantastic day. Thanks for having us. Thank you.